bit about me. In addition to incident response and darknet cybercrime research, I do systems architecture reviews for new systems that Akamai stands up to make sure that they play nice with the internet and with themselves. I also do security training and workshops. So to lay the groundwork and the context for what we're talking about here in terms of actors for cyber criminals, we're talking about carders and low to mid-level ID fraudsters. What we aren't talking about is state-backed actors and huge, heavily resourced cyber criminal organized crime games. And the reason why we're not talking about those here is they have a very different set of resources, drivers, goals, and there's a whole bunch of different techniques that you would use to defend against them than you would the group we're talking about today. All right, so when we're talking about the cybercrime cash-out scheme, typically for somebody who doesn't do research in this area, it's sort of like there's a crime committed, we see a news story about the crime committed, and out of that crime they're able to somehow turn what they did into a saleable good or service. And then there's some voodoo magic, and then they're able to make money. So what we're going to talk about is how they actually go through that process. One of the most prevalent versions of cybercrime out there right now is carding or credit card fraud. And these are real credit card fraudsters that really put these pictures on social media. They're not very intelligent for the most part, and they're very funny to watch, especially in IRC, because they go at each other's throats all the time. It's great. And all of these people, by the way, are serving sentences right now. This one's in the UK, the one on the top two are in Brazil, and the one on the right is somewhere else in South America near Brazil. And so how do they typically get the credit card numbers that they're using? Well, one of the methods that's really up and coming right now is skimming. Skimmers can be really small and sort of innocuous looking and added to just about anything that takes a credit card. We've seen skimmers, of course, on gas station pumps. And they have pocket versions for people who work at restaurants. You know, they take your card from the table, they go ahead and in their hand have the skimmer and then run it through their card machine and then the skimmer at the same time. And then we've also found them on red box machines, which that was interesting. Another place that was really cool that we saw them, not cool for you guys, was when you go into a kiosk to use an ATM, there might be a skimmer on the ATM, but there might also be one on the door where you actually slide your card in to open the door and unlock it. So always pull on those things before you put your card in, because they'll pop out pretty easily if it's a skimmer. Another way, yes, even though it is 2015, SQL injection is still huge and very easy to perpetrate. And it's typically small to mid-level mom-and-pop e-commerce stores that are vulnerable to it, but every now and then, you know, a big guy gets popped because they thought their web application firewall would take care of everything and didn't bother to sanitize input and do their proper casing and all of that. Another method for getting credit card data is you go to a small restaurant, it's not a chain, or a small retail store, and they've got Wi-Fi up. You're like, great, I can use their Wi-Fi. Oh look, they've got their payment processing system connected to their Wi-Fi. Oh look, they have a spreadsheet that holds all of their payment processing information because they want to save some money and not send it out every day, so they send it in bulk at the end of the week. And they have these nice little CSVs and folders that tell you where all of the credit card transaction logs are and everything. We still see those. Another one is going directly to the point of sale system. Looking at you, Target, Home Depot. It doesn't have to be like this huge thing where you go in and you have somebody on the inside that installs the malware, or you go through the HVAC vendor and pivot to install the malware. A lot of times you can just walk up to the cashier and the point of sale system they have right there has a huge open USB port right there. So that's fun. All you have to do is get it to reboot, and then it reboots from your USB, installs something in either the BIOS or wherever you want it, and then goes into the regular system, and nobody's the wiser.
Voting.
Yep, voting machines, that's another fun one. And if you don't want to go through all of that stuff that seems really risky, you can use Tor to go to the dark web and visit one of the shops there and buy stolen credit cards. So the ones that are non-US usually go for more money. And the like you get some Amexes, those are about $6. This is from a couple of weeks ago, by the way. Australian ones are pretty well priced. Canada and the UK, those usually cost a little more because they also have to give you the chip data as well. So how do they start turning these cards into stuff that they can sell? Well, designer goods and electronics are, the hotness for carders. They get a little bit for themselves, but then they also will buy a bunch to then go ahead and use like apps like Wallapop or Garage Sale, or use Craigslist or Backpage and meet somebody in a sketchy alley and then trade them money. I mean, if you're buying an Xbox for like $100 less than it should be going for, you might be a little suspicious, but not really care because, hey, cheap Xbox. Or there's a lot of places that just have retail outlets online that sell heavily discounted goods, which, yes, they're stolen, but hey, great prices. The Mac Pro went really quick. Another way to go ahead and use those cards is you go into a big box store, or you pay a little runner to go into a big box store and have them buy something there that's really expensive with a stolen credit card. And then you go ahead and you take that stolen, or that item, and then you go to another store and you return it there. So now you get a gift card, and then you can sell the gift card. And it doesn't necessarily track exactly back to the credit card, so it adds a little bit of obfuscation for you to try and stay more secure. So there's some concerns with dealing with all of these tangible goods. When you're receiving and sending goods, as Will talked about earlier, with having to deal with shipping and things like that, it's a risk, a huge risk there, because you're exposing potentially your home or business address, especially if you're shipping passports to your home address. If you're going in to do a personal trade with somebody off of Craigslist, I mean, you're not going to wear a mask because when they see you, they're just going to turn around and walk away. So you're exposing yourself there, and there could be cameras you don't see around. When you're in a post office and using a PO box, so it's not your home, there's most definitely cameras there, and there's employees. And the cops could just be waiting there, waiting for you to pick up your stolen PlayStation. Another thing to think about is that PO boxes, when you set one up, it requires you to give an ID. So there's that. Also, using an abandoned drop. This is where you have somebody who has moved out of a house or is on vacation, or it's a business that has been closed. You can try and ship it there, but it's sort of hit or miss because the UPS or USPS might be like, oh, this is abandoned, this has to be the wrong address. Or there could be somebody watching the house that picks up the package for you, or the police know the package is getting shipped there because it's using a stolen credit card, and they just wait for you there to go and pick it up. If you're going to go ahead and be like, well, I don't want to touch any of the goods because I don't want to get caught by the cops or be on camera, I'm going to send mules to do it for me. The problem there is they steal from you. It's going to happen all the time. And when they get caught, you better bet they're going to flip on you. There's no loyalty among thieves. And then, of course, you have to worry about controlled deliveries, where the cops actually bring the package and they're dressed up like UPS and go sign here, and then once you sign, they're like, oh, you're on camera. So how do you not touch the goods and not have to deal with mules? Use eBay. So this is called the triangulation attack, or triangulation fraud, and this is where you have an unsuspecting customer goes on eBay, something that you've listed there, say a PlayStation 4 or something, and they're like, ooh, that's a pretty good price. It's not a crazy good price, so it's probably not stolen. Yeah, I'm going to buy that. And what you do is you go ahead and they order it, and then you, as the fraudster, fraudulent seller, you use a stolen credit card to order from another electronics depot that PlayStation 4, and then in the shipping information, you ship it to the person who originally bought it from you on eBay. You're not touching any of the goods. This still works, by the way. So if you don't want to deal with goods, you can deal with services. So Fiverr is really good. You can go in and offer to do some work for $5. You set up 2 accounts. Set up one is the person that's going to do the work, and one is the person that's going to pay for the work. Except you pay for the work in stolen credit cards. You can also do this with freelancer.com, guru.com, Upwork. Anybody who has a marketplace for you doing contract work or freelance work, you can be both the buyer and the seller and just funnel the stolen credit card money from you to you.
Uber and Lyft too?
Oh, I haven't thought about that. But there's a lot of front end involved there. But it could be good. I'll look into that. Though along the same lines, there's Square, Stripe, Etsy, Flint, SparkPay. They all offer payment processing. Again, you could set up something that looks like a legitimate service. I don't know, you can offer like holistic crystal Reiki healing over the internet. And then have people pay you for it, but those people are actually you with stolen credit cards. And you get to play lots of different people, so it's fun if you're into acting. And then, of course, you get the money for those services you rendered over the internet. If you really want to go into like hardcore no soul mode, you can start a charity. So bonus points if you have like SSL locks all over the place. Double bonus points if you file for your charity license, so you're tax exempt. So you can start a church. I mean, anybody can start a church. It's really easy. Or a political action committee. You could be your own super PAC. And then all of those donors don't actually know that they're donating to you. So there are some payment processing systems that I've seen underground. I've seen documents for how to actually exploit them and use them. There's PayPal for charities. There's Chimp, IATS, Network for Good, GiveWell. All of these are currently being exploited for this type of attack. Also, there's money transfer services. You can just hook up a credit card to PayPal, to Skrill, used to be Moneybookers. Some of you might know it better as that. Google Wallet, or you can do a transfer, a wire, through RIA, Western Union, MoneyGram. But there's a problem with all of these. As well as setting up Stripe or a web shop or something like that. The problem with all of these is that you need an identification. They'll ask you to, wow, that really didn't come out, did it? Great. So there's a guy supposed to be there holding that card. He's a ghost now. I guess he died. But they want, a lot of times, you to take a selfie with like you holding your legitimate ID and then showing a document like your power bill or something like that, or your passport. And that's a problem because now you're like showing your identification in your picture and it's easily traced back to you. What do? You go back to the darknet. And here you can just buy somebody else's identification. It has their email addresses, passwords, their billing telephone, mother's maiden name. Some financial institutions will ask you that when you try to set up an account. And it also has a lot of times social security number and fun stuff like user agent, browser, platform, IP address, and location. If you can spoof all of those, it's really good for getting into bank accounts. So right here. If you need to prove that you are who you say you are, and they require like extended verification, which they will because you're sketchy, then you can give them bank statements. You can give them a scanned passport, driver's license scan. And there are people on the darknet, you just tell them what you need it to look like and what needs to be on it. They go into Photoshop and they print it out for you and then send it to you. So you can then, show your documentation. You're actually this person that you just made up. And if you really need a hard, like realistic fake ID that like scans and has the hollow foil and everything like that, you can go to Reddit. So Reddit fake IDs, and you can just buy one. Tell them what you want on it. It costs about $100, $120, something like that. You pick your state, you pick what goes on it, and you're good to go. So you can open a P.O. box now for a drop. Don't actually do that, please. So that seems like a lot of work, and you're pushing out a lot of money to make money. So you're going through buying all of these services from other people on the darknet, You're, sending in your picture to get a fake ID. That seems kind of sketchy. You don't want to put your face out there. You're trying to open a PO box or set up a drop. So what can you do to not have to deal with any of this identity crap? You can target rewards programs. So retail, travel, hospitality is mostly where we see these. We see it also in food service. Vouchers are a really nice target. They're easily transferable. Oftentimes they don't expire, and a lot of times that's because of different laws that say, hey, you can't make this expire if it's an actual voucher, good for goods and services. E-gift cards, which are like physical gift cards except E. And you can email them to people, easily transferable. They're typically good as cash in the underground if it's for a big retailer like Amazon or PlayStation Network. And those are usually traded one-to-one for the dollar amount or at a little bit of a discount. Also, there are many outlets to resell e-gift cards. Gift Card Granny is one of the biggest ones out there. You see deep discounts on gift cards there. That's because a good chunk of them are stolen. So the vouchers. Here, these are just from this week. I've taken these pictures from underground networks, or underground trading places. So you see this resort for a spa resort voucher code here. You can buy all kinds of high-end beauty products. Or if you're crazy, you can use the stolen voucher to go in yourself to the spa. I wouldn't do that. You can see it's heavily discounted. 100-pound one for 35 bucks. And for restaurants, tons of vouchers. For different restaurants, it's 20 pounds for 7 bucks each. And then this one is for Virgin Trains in the UK. E-vouchers, 100 pounds for about 45 bucks. And use e-gift cards. These were from yesterday. This is homeshoppingnetwork.com. $50 gift code for 20 bucks. Whole Foods, 20% off the price balance of the balance of the card. Walmart e-gift cards, those are very popular. 50% off.
How come the buy price was 0?
It's a drop-down list. Because it says it's 20% off the price balance, you choose the balance amount in the drop-down. You can also buy points, reward points. So gamers in the room, you can get really good prices on GameStop power-up rewards. Also, you can get air miles, which those are pretty much cash in a lot of air mile programs. You can actually turn them directly into checks, or you can use it to buy other goods. So how are they getting these? Well, if they're not setting up their own IDs, if they're not doing any sort of credit card fraud or SQL injection to get them, how are they actually getting access to the accounts that have the e-gift cards, the vouchers, the rewards points that they can then sell? So they might try to brute force the login. This is one of the brooters we actually saw used. What this relies on primarily is a very weak required password and using some sort of easily identifiable username, like email address. I mean, how many websites use email addresses for the username, right? Yeah?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you a quick question. I don't know anything about this, but wouldn't it be easier just to use like some of the sites where you do, hey, we fix this bug bounty and for your open source project, and if you fix it, then we'll pay you X amount of dollars. I don't know if that's still a thing, but that used to be the popular way to do it. Is that still popular now?
Say that again?
So like bug bounty programs, so
yeah.
like GitHub's, like, they had a bug bounty program for a while. If you fix, this open source problem bug,
right,
pay you $5,000. Is that still a common method?
So for the case studies that I'm going to get into, none of them had active bug bounty programs. Some of them do now. Yeah, that wasn't something that would have done them any good at that point in time because they just didn't think it was important enough for them to do it until they got caught.
Well, so what I'm thinking of is more of money laundering, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Passive funds, right? Where you say, I'm going to pay this developer $500 to fix this problem, right? And in return, I'm going to pay them the money, but this developer actually hasn't written the project at all. I'm just going to use this site as a means to pass the money.
So there's a I mean, that's certainly possible, but it would take a lot of legwork in setting up a legitimate enough looking company with a long enough track record to get taken on by a third-party bug bounty program. Or if you wanted to set up your own bug bounty program, if you were getting a lot of credit card chargebacks for your company while you were paying out the bug bounties to try and launder the money, then you would start getting investigated as a company that was paying out bug bounties.
Yeah. Well, so that actually was a scenario. So GitHub had a specific bounty program like that, and it was actually shut down a couple months into it because that's what it turned into.
Right. I mean, you could cash out like for a small period of time, but then, like you said, it would get shut down pretty quickly. So I'm surprised it took months. And so you might be thinking, oh, brute forcing doesn't really work in this day and age. So if you go to any number of especially transportation rewards programs, they use 4-digit pins still, which is pretty terrible. And a bunch of them still don't have rate limiting, so you could just keep slamming the login site. But the biggest way that they get into these accounts is credential reuse, because nobody uses the same login on different sites, right? Right? And getting access to dumped data for really, really big databases of leaked user information is really easy. You can see there's a bunch of MIT leaked data there. These are, again, recent. This is another, on the tour, I found this server that had the adult friend finder dump. It had the hacking team dump. Oh, that was fun. And OPM samples, which turned out to be false. The MSpy database dump, which was legit. That was fun. Also, what else was there? There was, somebody hacked VeggieTales. I don't know why you would do that, but they dumped all the forum credentials for it, so you had, because it was kept in the clear, so you had people's VeggieTales login information. Now that song's going to be stuck in my head. So there are automated checkers, so people don't have to manually go in and, oh, that one didn't work, oh, that one didn't work. This will do it for you automatically. This one focuses on Facebook, popping people's Facebook accounts, which is really good for further social engineering. This one was a web checker that was run and used by a Vietnamese credit card gang, which did end up getting, they got arrested and extradited. This was 3 months ago. That was nice. We were fighting them for a while. And what they did is this web-based checker had a little drop-down list where you can pick a whole bunch of sites. Right now it was set to apple.com, but it had a whole bunch of other sites that it would check against. Walmart.com was one of them. Amazon was another one. And what you would do is you would put in the email address and the password that you got from whatever database got dumped, and a huge list. And then you would put your SOCKS proxies over there. And you would actually say how often you want to change your proxy. So why would you do that? Because if you've got one IP address that you're constantly slamming against a login page, chances are they're going to block your IP address. So what do you do when they block you? Change IP addresses and just keep doing it. All right, so why is it great to get a hold of these accounts that have rewards? Because not only do you get access to all this stuff that you can then sell on the darknet or trade for goods and services, but you a lot of times also get access to credit card numbers, because people love clicking, yes, save my information for next time, so I just have to click one button to buy this. Also, personal information. You can start building IDs on people. You've got addresses, phone numbers. You've got both billing and shipping. A lot of times work addresses as well, and information about. A lot of times websites will just hoover up all the information that they can. So you'll get access to their past login information, where they logged in from, things like that. If you have to spoof that in the future. There's also cross-program fraud. A lot of these rewards programs like to link up with other rewards programs, and it's really easy to exploit the single sign-on features. So you can pop one account and they get access to goods and services for a completely unrelated business or vertical, just because you're linking the single sign-ons between those accounts. Yeah?
You brought up linking. Have you guys looked at something called ATO, account takeover, where someone has a bank account, and then what you do is you get all the personal information, and you set up a parallel account that's basically got $10 in it, and then you take the deposit, launder the deposit, and then they realize that the core has been hacked. They realize the second account's there that they didn't even know that has no money in it. Have you guys seen a lot of that? Because what they're doing is they're repurposing all personal information to set up a parallel account.
Yeah. So this actually happened for, I think his name was Miguel Gomez. He was, his house was raided while he was sleeping, and he was dragged off by ICE and put in holding for like 2 weeks, and then a $100,000 bail set. And he's like, what the hell is going on? He had house arrest for a very long time, and it turns out that Wachovia fingered him as being the one that was laundering a whole bunch of stolen funds through his Wachovia account. But what had actually happened is exactly what you were saying, is somebody set up a parallel account to his, and then made it look like it was him laundering the funds. So yeah, that does happen.
When did that happen, just out of curiosity?
It started in 2013, I believe.
Thanks.
Gomez is the last name.
Maybe this is slightly off topic, but do you recommend using password manager, or do you think that just shifts the problem to someplace else? Like to just use really ridiculously long, complex passwords you need to
So that with the caveat, use unique passwords, yes, unique login credentials. Don't use password managers that store everything in the cloud, especially when they have access to the master key. Because then everybody that works there also has access to all of your passwords, or if they get popped, when they get popped. Also, have it set up to rotate your passwords. That's just generally good practice. I mean, don't keep the same passwords forever for your accounts. Set up a period of time that you're going to rotate all of them. That way, if your password does get leaked, it's not good forever and ever. Yeah?
Yes, could you mention one or two password managers that you like? And a second part of the question is, given that the retained information for easy login or easy purchase again, it has such dangers for easy purchase again, how does Amazon get away with demanding that you have one-click purchase power once you want to get a Kindle book? They require you to use one-click sign-in.
So the reason they're able to do that is because they're not forcing you to use their service.
Oh.
It's not like a government service where it's mandatory for you to use it. If it was like access to good water or something like that, and they forced you to do something like that, then there would be an uproar. But you're not forced to use the Amazon Kindle service so they can get away with it.
So why aren't there sites that make publicly available on numerous blogs the commercial companies that are causing us to have these theft problems by their policies?
Because they don't feel the pain. It goes to the credit card processors, and then they go ahead and either raise rates marginally, which for big box stores doesn't really impact them very much. It really only impacts small businesses for processing. Or it's the onus is put back on the customer. I would really, really love to see both credit card companies and major retailers come together to start combating this, but there's just not enough pain for them to do it right now as a business decision.
Password managers, one or two that you like?
Oh, 1Password, LastPass after the last update.
As a follow-up to changing the passwords, if you're changing the passwords, do they capture the image information too? So you know how sometimes what will happen is you'll have the password, but then they'll have an image. It'll be a whatever, it'll be a a race car or whatever. Does that get captured when if your ID gets stolen? They don't capture that.
So there is a way to capture that is used, and that's usually in overlays. Okay. Like Zeus botnet, the latest few versions have had and Carberg uses it too. There is an overlay for your browser that takes a picture of that.
So if you're changing your passwords, what you're recommending is change the reference image as well on the same cycle?
Yeah, I mean, if that is part of your authentication schema, then yes.
Then change the picture. Thanks.
Yeah, I would lump that in with password.
Okay.
Yeah. And so when you're done with the account that you've just drained and used for points and everything like that, you can then just turn around and sell the account itself. So, double money, yay. All right, so we've seen the criminal side and what the criminals do. I want to talk about now what we on the defender side did when we were facing these things. So the checkers that we've been seeing this year and last year to pop all of these rewards accounts have been sort of across industries, but focused in retail, travel, and hospitality. And the IP addresses that we saw that were running these checkers were different botnets, and it was geographically dispersed, and they typically used rolling proxies, so their IPs would change rapidly. And some of the interesting IP blocks that we saw were ones belonging to Hola VPN. I'm sure nobody else here that runs a big network saw any of those, right? Mac botnet, we definitely saw a lot of that. Shared hosting, like people running WordPress blogs or Joomla blogs. We saw a lot of those IP addresses because, man, those are easy to crack. Also, home routers, saw a lot of those IPs. The sort of TCPs that we saw were, they would run for about 12 hours straight and then suddenly die off in traffic. And we noticed that these 12 hours typically did not correlate with US work hours. So you can make guesses about what that says about the geography of the people running it, but I wouldn't be mandiant and say that that's really, really good proof of who's running it. We also saw that they adapted very quickly if we put in a geographic block. Like if we said, we don't want any IPs from Eastern Europe, then they would just stop using those IPs and then move to all of their IPs in, say, South Africa. And it was sort of this cat and mouse game. And then we also saw that they adapted quickly if they were being served 403 errors.
Like quickly, hours, days?
What's that?
How quickly?
Oh, for them to, it would vary, but typically it would be a day or so. And so the things that we saw that were semi-effective in fighting them, blacklisting whole IP blocks instead of just running IP blacklists for individual IPs, and doing rate controls on whatever login mechanism that was being used by the companies. Also checking for valid referrers when they were sending us, when the botnets were sending us communications. We found that a lot of them were using invalid refers, their header information was kind of garbled and in the wrong order, so we were able to start building patterns based off of that and match and then block. But then again, like after a few days, they would respond to that and start changing things up. The things that we saw that were super effective were adding additional login info requirements, like email address and then your last name. Just that, we saw a whole bunch of drop-off from the botnet account checkers. Also, we saw that they were mostly targeting mobile logins and API-based logins. And then they would also look at legacy login paths. Like if you still had an old way to log into a system or a development way to log into a system or an alpha test, they would really be looking for those because those weren't as hardened. So when we started nuking those with the customers and taking them offline, tweaking the mobile and API business logic for the logins, that made a huge difference. Also, instead of serving them 403s or serving them 404s or something like that, or denying their request altogether, we started tar pitting. And that's when we make their traffic take lots and lots of time to move around and get back to them. So it doesn't time out, but it just takes forever for them to do whatever they're doing. Also serving them fake landing pages after they successfully logged in. That was really effective because they thought that, you know, woohoo, it worked, so I'm going to try a different login now. But it didn't actually work for them. We just didn't tell them it didn't work. So what should these companies be doing in the future? What kind of advice do we give them to do going forward? What advice would we give to other companies that might run into this? Use unique user IDs. Please stop using email addresses as the login name because people will not stop using the same passwords across websites. So if you start using unique login names, that'll be half of the battle already won. Two-factor authentication. Yes, it can be difficult to implement and do right, but it's well worth it. It stops a lot of account abuse. Also, start doing detection on anomalous account usage. Start getting baseline data for your users across accounts. Start flagging on things like when somebody's phone number is changed to a VoIP number. That's used by fraudsters a lot. When somebody's email address is changed to a known forwarding service. That's something that fraudsters use a lot. Flag on that. If they start logging in from a completely different geography than they've logged in the past, that may be suspicious. When there's high numbers of account detail changes across accounts, across your environment, and they start looking kind of similar, like all these accounts are changing their email addresses to Pavel123, Pavel124, Pavel125 at some Russian email address. Then that's something that you might want to look into and say, hey, these accounts might be compromised and they might be funneling their points and things like that. You also want to look at big spending changes. If people are running through lots of different card numbers on their account, or if they are starting to just spend their points like crazy when they've never really spent their points very much in the past, those are things to start looking at as well. So I know I don't have all the answers. I can just tell you what worked for us. And I would really like to hear from other people in the industry too, what they've seen that's really effective against account checkers and cash out schemes in general. So if you don't feel comfortable asking a question or making a comment here, feel free to email me. That's gmail.com. But I am ready to take questions and comments from the crowd though. I know a bunch of them already got asked.
Have you seen the OPM data online?
No. And anybody who tells you they have are lying, unless they work for a particular government agency. I'm not going to name names though.
So I have two questions, we can separate them with the other questions. So the first is I have a landline currently